Star Wars Episode 9 The Rise of Skywalker, one of my favorite parts of Legends continuity was actually canonized. No, it's not an ancient Sith Lord or some ancient weapon. It was, however, one of the most powerful, deadly, and famous Imperial forces in all of Star Wars, including Legends. I am of course talking about the Sovereign Protectors that were protecting Darth Sidious at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, when both Rey Palpatine and Ben Solo confronted the Sith Lord on the planet of Exegol within his Citadel throne room. Unfortunately, we know very little about the Sovereign Protectors in Star Wars canon. However, we do know a lot about them in Legends, and today we will be making a video about everything we know about the Sovereign Protectors, the most powerful and elite members of the Imperial Royal Guard. Sovereign Protectors were a group of the Royal Guards and also a military rank bestowed to the best Sith troopers of the Sith Eternal Empire. They protected the Dark Lord of the Sith Darth Sidious when he was most vulnerable, but were ultimately destroyed by the Jedi Ben Solo and Rey. The Sovereign Protectors have likely been hiding in the shadows of the Imperial era, as they likely did exist. To explain away the most elite of the Red Guard though, we have to explain the more common but still deadly Royal Guards. The Imperial Royal Guards were an elite unit of members who served as personal bodyguards to the Galactic Emperor. Fully clad in crimson robes and a face-concealing helmet, the Emperor's guards were a silent, imposing, and deadly force armed with force pikes. In addition to strict requirements of size, strength, intelligence, and loyalty, only the most skilled soldiers in the Imperial military qualified for duty in the Royal Guard. The Imperial Guard were also occasionally assigned to provide protection to members of the Imperial Ruling Council as well as Lord Vader. The origins of the crimson-clad Royal Guard dates back to the time of the Separatist Crisis, when Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine crafted an order of protectors that stood apart from the Senate Guard during the Galactic Republic's twilight, as Palpatine created his own specialized military force, presumably also made of clone troopers. But clone troopers led specifically and bred specifically to be loyal completely to Sidious. Over the course of the Clone Wars, the Red Guard slowly took over the Senate Guard as its elite subunit, the Senate Commandos as the Chancellor's bodyguards. By the end of the Clone Wars, Palpatine proclaimed himself Emperor of the Galactic Empire. As a result, the Senate Guards were completely phased out of service and replaced by the Chancellor's Red Guards, who were henceforth known as the Red Royal Guard. Emperor Palpatine sealed himself away from the populace throughout his reign over the Empire. On the rare occasions of his public appearances, he was always accompanied by members of the Red Royal Guard. In the decades that followed Palpatine's death and the subsequent fall of the Empire, a new order of protectors was crafted by Supreme Leader Snoke of the First Order. Modeled on the Emperor's Red Royal Guard, the elite Praetorian Guard consisted of 8 warriors who wore ornate crimson armor and wielded an array of melee weaponry and specialized in martial arts. However, in the unknown regions of space, as Emperor Palpatine coveted his power, he began training new soldiers from the ranks of his Sith troopers that had been bred with extreme loyalty to the Sith Eternal. And Emperor Palpatine created a new iteration of the Red Royal Guard in the Sovereign Protectors, the most advanced and specialized fighters that the Sith Order had seen during the reign of Darth Sidious. So powerful, in fact, that many rumors arose that some of them could have even been force sensitive. Darth Sidious deemed this group the Sovereign Protectors. Imperial Sovereign Protectors, also known as the Royal Guard Champions, were the most elite group of guardsmen in Imperial service. The uniforms of the Sovereign Protectors were similar to that of the Imperial Red Royal Guards, but had some key differences, including some specialized weaponry. Namely though, they possessed a black chest plate and black gauntlets. Their helmet's front was colored black, while the rest was red, and they wore a black cape. In some cases, they wore ornate armor with hoods and scythe-like force pikes. They were led mostly by a champion picked directly by Darth Sidious himself, and they directly answered to the Emperor alone. No other member of the Sith Eternal could command the Sovereign Protectors but Sidious. In Legends continuity, only the best of the elite Emperor's Royal Guard were specially chosen to become Sovereign Protectors. They endured years of selection procedures and training aimed at achieving protection and soldiering. Extreme standards were set for combat, fitness, stamina, strength, dexterity, mental acuity, reaction time, loyalty, and intelligence. Their combat training included the use of heavy blaster pistols and the deadly double vibro blade. They also had access to Emperor Royal Guard's TIE-IN starfighters and were often sent on extremely vital missions to Sidious, in some cases hunting down Jedi Order 66 survivors, but in most common cases taking out specialized rebellion threats. Finally, each Sovereign Protector would receive rudimentary training from senior darkside adepts such as Arden Lin to wield the dark side of the Force. This is what truly set them apart from other Red Royal Guards or members of the Imperial ranks. They actually received training in the dark side of the Force, not only to use it to corrupt and destroy their enemies, but also to be viable threats for any Jedi that would arise. It was believed that a Sovereign Protector had to hold some affinity with the Force to even pass the trials, and to even become a Sovereign Protector, as the trials alone were so vigorous and intense. Although not enough to provide independence or stoke ambition, the most exceptional Sovereign Protectors were eventually eligible for training as a Dark Jedi, and in Legends continuity could even grow one day to the rank of an Imperial Inquisitor, being trained directly by the hand of either the Emperor or Darth Vader in the ways of the dark side. However, before this era, they were also trained by other Inquisitors. Most of these armored and robed soldiers were charged with the personal protection of Emperor Palpatine, while others were deployed to guard Palpatine's interests throughout the galaxy, including the Imperial Citadel on the deep core planets of Biss, where darkside training typically took place, and where Jedi Order 66 survivors that could be turned to the dark side of the Force were taken, in order to see if they would in fact turn to the dark side and become Imperial Inquisitors, making this one of the most valuable locations for both Darth Vader as well as Sidious, and why Sovereign Protectors were often sent there. They were also sent other locations such as monasteries. A number of Sovereign Protectors were stationed aboard the dreadnought known as Eclipse. They were typically organized in regiments of 400 individuals. The best known of the Sovereign Protectors was the treacherous Royal Guardsman Carnor Jax, who was promoted to the rank in 11 ABY at the instigation of the Imperial Ruling Council of Sarveg Quest. Though Palpatine remained unaware, Jax and Quest were in fact leading a conspiracy to overthrow the Dark Lord. Jax indeed was an aspirant Sith Lord who trained as the apprentice of the Dark Lord Lumaya, who was the own personal apprentice of Darth Vader, believing that Jax was powerful enough to one day become a Dark Lord of the Sith himself. At least 2 Sovereign Protectors were tasked with guarding the vital Imperial data center on Solus, as they often personally escorted shuttles to the facility. In Legends continuity, the Sovereign Protectors only have a limited number of appearances, but that's still more than only a single appearance in the Rise of Skywalker in Star Wars canon. In Legends, the Sovereign Protectors arrived first in Dark Empire, but then only appeared in Empire's End and Crimson Empire. We will now discuss the most powerful and skilled out of all of the Sovereign Protectors, the Sovereign Protector that believed himself to be powerful enough to become a Sith Lord one day, Carnor Jax. Carnor Jax was an Imperial Sovereign Protector and aspiring Sith Lord who made a bid for the vacant Imperial throne. Jax was the second Sith apprentice to the self-proclaimed Dark Lady of the Sith Lumaya, and served her after the deaths of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine above Endor. Jax and Lumaya were responsible for the extermination of the last few remaining prophets of the dark side of Bos Thirda. After Palpatine returned in the form of several cloned bodies, Carnor Jax succeeded in ensuring the demise of the last of Palpatine's clones, thus murdering the Emperor and opening a path to the throne directly. Jax was also responsible for the destruction of the Red Imperial Guard, and had all but one of them killed off in a surprise attack on the planet of Yichor. The remaining member, Kir Karnos, became a fugitive, forcing Jax to concentrate his efforts on capturing the man. The chase led Jax to capturing the rebel leader Mirth Sin and subjected her to torture. However, in an unfortunate series of events, the actions of Karnos helped Sin to escape, and Jax and Karnos found themselves in a final showdown on Yichor. The following battle was evenly matched, but the unexpected prowess of Karnos threw off the balance of Jax as he was killed. Carnor Jax's death left Lumaya without a known apprentice for almost 30 years. However, it is still incredibly impressive that the Sovereign Protector eventually rose to the level of a Dark Jedi and a Sith apprentice. Even if in the eyes of many, such as Palpatine, Lumaya was never a true Dark Lady of the Sith. Talking about the inherent skill of a Sovereign Protector, we will use Jax as our baseline, as again he is the greatest of all of the Sovereign Protectors and wore the armor until the day of his death. Carnor Jax excelled as a stormtrooper, earning the right to begin his training as a Red Royal Guard. While on Yichor, Jax was considered to be one of the best trainees, and had enough skill in martial arts and with viroblades to defeat his opponents in the Squall. His skill and determination eventually helped Jax to become one of Palpatine's Red Royal Guards. Having been trained by the Lady Lumaya, Jax was adept at using the Force and was often practicing it on board the Emperor's Revenge on small round spheres, which he levitated in the air and crushed with telekinesis, as Jax was one of the first Sovereign Protectors, but not the only Sovereign Protectors to display an affinity with the dark side. His prowess in telekinesis also allowed Jax to manipulate a rock during the final duel with Canos, and to pull Sish Sadet's weapon from his hands. Jax could also feel the dark side of the Force, and could feel when an individual was lying to him using it during interrogations. Although Jax considered himself to be almost as powerful as Palpatine and Darth Vader, all his training was not enough to defeat Canos on Yid Chor, proving him far less than a true Dark Lord of the Sith, and proving that all he had at the end of the day compared to the power of Sidious was blind aspiration. Anyway though, my friends, what are your thoughts on the recently canonized Sovereign Protectors of Darth Sidious, and how they actually appeared at the ending of The Rise of Skywalker in the throne room of Palpatine? And what are your thoughts on their explanation in Star Wars Legends? And did you know much about the Sovereign Protectors before this video? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.